right. Okay. So all like I was telling all my friends, okay, I have something to tell you. I am a medium and intuitive, and nobody batted an eyelash. They were like, "Oh, that makes so much sense." It's like, I'm sorry, what? Like you knew before I did? And they were like, "Oh no, that makes so much sense," and everything like that. So, I mean, I didn't tell, and actually, all of my family members. So um when I finally came out, I hadn't quit my job yet, but when I came out of the spiritual closet and told my mom and my sister, my sister was like, okay, no problem. I don't know how to respond to that, but if that makes you happy. My mom, like, we have to remember, like, I grew up and they grew up obviously with the same beliefs that, like, this is demonized and my daughter's a scam artist and oh my God and everything. But when they saw and they also at the same time they had all these crazy thoughts like, oh sheesh, what is Sarah doing? But at the same time they were like, well, not for me to judge, let's see what happens. So when they saw how happy I became and how way more centered I was, and that I wasn't so angry and frustrated, they were like, okay, this is interesting. Let's see what happens. Let's see how where this goes. And the changes they saw within me, they were just like, nah, this has to be real. And then my sister actually was an assistant for me for a couple of months when I was first starting. And she heard just, I talk loud. So she heard some of the readings and she was just like, holy crap, Sarah, like that, how did you know all this stuff? And I'm like, again, the dead tell me. So I didn't have any like outwardly or vocal like you're insane comments to me. It just seemed, and that like made it so much easier, to be honest. I mean, of course I did hear some people's conversation, secondhand gossip about, well, this happened and they all think you're nuts, and I'm like, that's fine, that's okay. I don't, there were people in the world that before me that were so told they were crazy. I think of the Wright brothers a lot, the men that wanted to fly.
I know. I mean, they probably thought they were crazy.
100%. You want to
Why?
fly
You
like a
mean
bird? What's
fly?
insane,
You
right?
mean
You're insane, right? Like, and there's so many, like, and the thing is like the other thing that I've done ever since I was young is, I've read quotes from people that have lived their lives. There's so many quotes of like, the only regret I've ever had is doing that which I never did, like not doing that which like urged me. There's also this quote. I wish I remembered his name. I loved it. It's along the lines of, the graveyards are the richest places in the world because that's where the songs that were never sung are there. The music that was never written, the countless books that were never written. They are
to somewhere?
right. Yeah, and it's I believe it's an American, an African American gentleman down in the States, I believe, was the one that created the quote, and it hit me. It hit me so hard, and I was like, I will never ever fail at anything if I don't give up. And I know, and I also believe that anything that excites me um gets, is like, oh my God, I would love to have that. That to me is my intuition talking to me and saying the reason why this excites you and why you feel like, oh, I would love to have that in my life is because you're a vibrational match to create that. I never wanted to be an Olympic swimmer. I never wanted, I never wanted to be like, I never wanted to be an actress. And it's because things aren't meant for me. But I always wanted to be a teacher. I always wanted to write a book. I always wanted to inspire other women. And I get to do that. And I actually have a book right now with a publisher. I teach women on a daily and consistent basis to tap into their inner voice. Everything that I've ever felt I wanted to do with my life, I am doing it and I'm living it. So I'm very lucky that I listened to that. And I think other women should too.
Yes, yes, all of us. We all need to hear our inner voice, you know. Um, uh, can you tell us a little bit like how you grow up, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
have as a kid, did you knew that about yourself or you didn't never felt anything as a kid? Because they say young children very sensitive too, that
Hmm.
they see things, talk to things that for us adults, we don't see it. You
Yeah.
know, do you remember anything like that? Did your parents ever say anything like that about you?
Um, so growing up in a very religious cult, I learned very quickly to stay silent.
Oh,
Like I mentioned, I didn't grow up in a happy childhood. My dad was arrested when I was 15.
oh,
So violence was the way of life. And so I learned very quickly how to try not to be seen, how to be quiet, which trust me was still hard because I'm very vocal and stuff. So I did not grow up in an environment that was safe to be me. So every once in a while, I do remember saying one time that I saw my great grandpa, and I was like, he was here, and I got a beating basically, and was told to be quiet, and that's not possible, and shame on you, and yada yada yada. So I literally thought growing up I was schizophrenic. I didn't ever tell anybody because I was so afraid, because growing up I was involved in some conversations about people who had schizophrenia and how they were kind of viewed, and it was, again, it was like over 30 years ago. So our viewpoint of people that had mental health issues was very different. And it was like, oh, it's so terrible. And yes, I'm sure it's very challenging for them still. But I just was like, I can't tell anybody. I can't tell anybody what I see or feel. And like, I'm just nuts. But I seem to be selling myself as normal. So let's just keep trying that. And I never ever, because the last time I ever told anybody about what I saw and felt resulted in a beating. I never told anybody else. I just stayed silent. I suffered in silence, and I was just like, nope, nope, nope. And it wasn't until I met my husband, I started dating him, and we were walking one night. It was really late. I think it was like 2 in the morning. We were walking on our street, and all of a sudden I kind of stopped and shook a little bit. And he was like, what's that all about? And I was like, okay, I'm not crazy, I promise. But I see someone on the corner, like I see the dead. And he was like, oh, do you mean like just like out of the corner of your eye? And I was like, well, yeah. And he's like, oh, Sarah, everybody has that. And I was like, no, because I can tell you that there's a person standing on the corner. I can tell you how old he is. I can tell you how he died. I can tell you how his hair is. I can tell you that he is in a red sports jacket. And he just kind of looked at me and was like, okay, I don't know what to do with that, but all right. And then I never said anything ever again. Again, I shut down, and I was like, well, he didn't leave me. So, I mean, that's a good sign. But I still didn't fully appreciate and understand what was happening. And then when my husband and I split up for a little while, I moved in with a girl, and I was seeing the dead in her house too. And we can't, and I was like, I can't tell her. She's going to think I'm crazy. She's going to kick me out of her house. I need to live here. So I'll just stay silent. And one day we were going into her house with groceries, and I saw the lady that lived in her house, walk across, and I kind of like gasped a little bit. And she's like, are you okay? And I said, okay, please don't think I'm nuts. But I saw there, you have a lady that lives in your house, and every time I come home, she goes from the living room and walks into the dining room, and I just tell her that I'm okay and that I see her. And she's like, oh yeah, I totally believe in that. My girlfriend helps people to cross over all the time. And I was like, you don't think I'm nuts? She's like, no, I totally believe in that. I think that's amazing. I think that's so cool that you're experiencing that. And she was the very first person that literally made me feel normal, and in with sharing that I can see the dead. And she got me excited about it, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. Maybe
I
there's something to this.
I
Sorry.
don't want to cut you off, but
No, it's
you ever find out who that lady was?
No, that's totally fine. I'm glad you asked. We didn't find out who she was, but interestingly enough, a few weeks later, about a few weeks or a month later, I ended up telling my roommate's name is Jenny, and I said, Jenny, this is really weird, but I haven't seen the lady in a few weeks. Like, I feel really bad. Like, I don't know what happened. And she's like, I've been wondering if you would say anything to me. And I kind of looked at her, and she's like, I had my friend come over and helped her cross over. And I was like, oh my God, really? And she's like, yeah. So I was wondering if you would say anything about it or anything like that. And I was like, that even, like, I'm getting goosebumps as I tell you, because I was like, holy shit, it's not in my head. Like,
He's so sneaky. I mean, in a good way, because he proved, and you're like,
yes.
stop seeing her. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it really did. And I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad you interrupted, because I remember when you asked me that, I was like, that's right. That was the real push, that I was like, there is something to this. Like, I've got to figure this out. But so the lady ended up, the place where my roommate's house was built on, it used to be her farmland, her family farmland, and she died, and she was very afraid to cross over. And so Jenny's friend was like, it's a place of love and light. I promise. Like, it's not someplace scary. We encourage you to cross over. And she did. And I never saw her again. It's
Wow.
really interesting. So, yeah. So I just, having that happen, I grabbed a book about guides, and there's these spiritual light beings that are connected to us and that help us to go through this lifetime. And I was reading this book, and I was like, there was still a huge part of me that was like, oh God, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Oh, I cannot believe I'm doing this. But I was like, oh, I have to figure this out. And I mean, I don't believe in the cult teachings that I was taught. So there's got to be something going on, something more. And I remember reading the book, and I laid on the floor at a certain point, and I was like, okay, fine, whatever. If there's actually a guide that is with me, let me feel you. And all of a sudden, I bolted up, because I swear to God, someone touched me right here. And I was like, what the hell was that? It's like, okay, let's try this again. So I did. And it literally felt like someone was pushing on my chest, and it was warm and it was kind. And I was like, holy shit, this is real. What is your name? And I heard the letter D and the letter A. And I was like, okay, I'm going to call you David. And it was like, okay, that's fine. I was like, okay. So then that week I went to a reader that read guides. She was called a guide reader. And I didn't tell anybody about the DA or the experience, because I was like, I still don't know what to think about this. So she started chuckling as we were walking to her back room where she did her readings. And I was like, oh, what's funny? And she's like, your guide wants you to know his name is not David, it's Daniel. And I was like,
Wow.
I literally stopped, and I was like, I don't even know if I can breathe at this moment. It's like, she's like, oh, I have more to tell you. Come on in. So I did. And it was amazing. It was really, she told me things that, like, there's no way, because Facebook wasn't a thing back then. Like, well, it was, but not like to the point that it is now. And it was just like, holy shit, how does she know all of this stuff? And it was just such an awakening moment for me, that I was all in. I was like, okay, I'm in. Let's learn more about this. And then when I found my teacher and I started going to weekly classes, I remember she had psychic development classes every Tuesday or Wednesday. Anyways, I went to one of them, and we worked missing persons case, and there was a variety of different people. There were men and women, all different ages, all different backgrounds, and the amount of stuff that we all got that was the exact same. I remember calling my husband at the time, um, just going, Colin, I'm psychic. It's like, what? And he's like, no, I'm serious. I'm psychic. You would not believe all the things that we got that were insanely similar. And you have to think about, and now some people are like, oh, well, it's coincidence. No, like, I'm talking like seriously specific things out of the billions, trillions of things that you could possibly get from a person's only their name and everything. It was just mind blowing. So I was just like, I need to learn more about this. And it was super exciting and just felt right.
Wow. Wow. I'm getting goosebumps right now. Like just.
Yeah. Love it.
What else can you tell us? What else do you do for your clients, besides all of that?
Yeah.
Everything's so fascinating, but what else
Thank you.
do you do for them?
Oh, it's so funny. As I was getting ready, I was like, okay, what else should I tell them? What else? And it's like, oh my gosh, there's so many things. I'm very fortunate that I connect to a group of entities called the Oracles of Divine Feminine Energy, or the oracles, I call them for short. And one of my favorite things that I've been starting to do is called what's it's like it's a called a download. So what I do is I connect to the oracles, and then just through distance, I'm not on the phone with my client or anything. I do kind of like an energy clearing, kind of like distance Reiki, where I do energy clearing for them through the oracles. And the oracles, what they do is they work on your energy. They identify and release a lot of your limiting fears and beliefs. You still have to work through them, but they identify them and they bring them to the surface. And they're like, we've cleansed this out, we've dusted this out. We are giving you more courage, more love, whatever area in your life that you're looking for assistance on without me even knowing. So as I'm channeling all this energy, I'm also writing out messages from them as you're getting a balancing and cleansing. It's like a divine light shower, I guess is what I would call it. And after the download, which is about 20 to 30 minutes, I write up the email of all the messages that they've sent you. And there's so many times where my client is like, you talked about my left thigh hurting, and I was because I had a Charlie horse in it, and all of a sudden it's no longer hurting anymore. So it's really amazing the transference of energy that can happen. So that's one thing that I do. I do coach women one on one, tapping into their intuition and really empowering themselves, understanding the difference between the fear voice and the higher self. Yeah, and really creating a life that they want without apology and without other people's opinions mattering to them. So with the tapping into their confidence as well. So I have that program too. And I do that as well with a group. So that's a lot of fun. The life-changing things that I've seen women do. Like there's one gal that wasn't sure what she wanted to do with her life. She had a really successful IT business, and now she's stepping away from that and really tuned and stepped into her intuition, and she's creating uh, energy and very spiritual business that she loves and gets excited about through working with me. So that's been a lot of fun and amazing, and everything. So, it's the intuitive readings, mediumship readings, the downloads, the coaching, and then just really, I'm found on social media, on TikTok, on the Intuition Queen social media, or sorry, Instagram as the Intuition Queen. And I go on there on a daily basis just to try to remind women who they are, how to tap into their empowered inner voice without apology, and also how to love themselves without looking for that outside validation as well. So that is what I do.
We are, especially women, we are our worst enemies, ourselves, you know,
Yeah.
because the amount of time that I am so hard on myself for the stupid things, is just unbelievable. And sometimes it's hard for me to come out and, okay, you okay? You okay? Just like get
Yeah.
myself down. Um, um, everything that you do, like I said, your page is so positive. You seem so positive. I love that.
Thank you.
Um, what is the negative side of, of
Yes.
what you are? Like, okay, so what I'm asking is, you stop me, and I can take this part out of the
Yeah.
podcast.
No worries.
Well, like you ever having a long time with your husband, and then suddenly a dead person's there talking to you. Does that take you out of the moment, or you don't want to talk about it? If you want to skip
No,
it,
no, that's okay. Sorry, I didn't quite. Can you ask me the question again? I'm an open book. Like so to me, there's nothing you can ask me that I would be like, I don't want to talk about that. And the reason why is my story is meant, and my life is meant to remind people that no matter what they've gone through. So here, no holds back. So when I talk about being in a cult and being in a violent household, my life, when I started out, my dad was violent. My dad sold me to other men when I was a child so I was involved in the sex trade when I was very young. My dad tortured me. My dad cut me. My dad did a lot of things that are not easy to face. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, my life was all bed of roses, because it really wasn't. It was extremely challenging. And 2024, I've been through some really hellish years. I was drugged and raped by two guys that I thought were my friends. I was molested by a guy that I thought was a really good friend as well. I have had 6 miscarriages in my lifetime. I have been challenged with mental health. I used to be a cutter, so I have a lot of scars on my arms and legs. Um, but I just kept, it's we can use the word fighting. I kept fighting to stay here, but the truth is that I kept choosing to stay here. I tried to commit suicide when I was younger. I ended up in the psych ward when I think I was in grade 11 when I ended up in the psych ward, and really struggled when I was in grade 12. I struggled even staying here when I was with my husband, who was an incredibly loving man. 2024 was a year of hell for me. I got a lot more memories of what I experienced during in the sex trade. I became that close to choosing to leave the world, and I just kept saying, one more day. This is a moment in time. Where have you had happiness? And there literally have been times where I was like, I don't care. I don't care about the happiness that I had, because it hurts so much in this moment. I can barely breathe.
Won't be done.
It's when people say, and this is not a knock on you, Allie, but when people say um anybody that committed suicide is a coward, I want to slap them, because I'm like, you have no idea how much pain that person was in that moment.
That's not what I meant.
No, no, but like coward, like
I meant
coward
I
not
was
to
a
take
coward for
action.
not going through it.
Yes. And I see and I hear you. I understand that too, right? Like and I really do, because and but when we can I for me, when even in like there was one moment where I was like closer than I ever was to saying goodbye, and my husband saw it, and he was supposed to leave town that day for work, and he called work and he said, I can't go. If I leave, I will never see my wife again. And I'm glad he didn't leave. I'm glad he stayed. I was really mad at him in the moment that he didn't go, because I had every intention of being like, I'm done, I'm over it. And I want to give up. But all the other times, there was a fear. There was a fear, and I wouldn't say I was cowardly for not doing it, but at the same time, I would say I was afraid, and I was like, but what if it hurts? What if it's like, what if I don't succeed? Like, we have the shame that I'm going to have, because people are going to know I tried and stuff. But that one time, I knew exactly how I was going to do it. I knew exactly the message I was going to send my husband. I had letters written to all of my loved ones and my friends, because I literally was like done. And if Colin hadn't stayed, I wouldn't be here to do this lovely podcast with you. But I realize it's a decision you make. And I think, one of my other energy workers, I was talking to her and telling her, and she's like, we're on the highway of life, and we're all faced with off ramps at times where we can choose to exit. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you chose to stay. And I was like, what a beautiful analogy to me. It was like, okay, I made the decision to stay. I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to stay, and I'm going to keep going. And so there has definitely been some challenges. And when you do light work and energy work, you cannot help anybody if you haven't take care of your own closet. So there are times where I am like, oh God, this is going to be a roller coaster. But I also remind myself that every step I take, every moment I stay here, I can show somebody that happiness is within reach. And, I've had people reach out to me with death threats because of what I do. I've had people call me Satan's harlot. I've had people tell me I'm going to burn in hell. Like, all of these crazy things that I'm just like, if I accept those as truth, I'm never going to make it anywhere. But if I just go, cool, that's their belief, that's good, I'm okay with that, I can keep going and stuff. But then, there's sacrifices that I've made for being an energy worker. I can't go to the movie theater like I used to before. Because as soon as I, settle in and start relaxing, I start hearing grandmas being like, hey, psst, my granddaughter's right up there. Can you talk to her? Can you just tell her that I love her and I miss her and I'm proud of her and I'm so glad that she does my baking the way I used to? And I'm always like, no, I don't go to concerts anymore. I miss them, but I'm also like, you know what? It's a moment in time. I have an amazing life. I don't go to hockey games like I used to, and stuff. So there are sacrifices that you make. And my husband is definitely affected by it as well because there's times where he's like, "Hey, let's go do something," and I'm like, "Oh my God, I don't have the energy to. I just don't." So you do sacrifice a lot of yourself, but at the same time, you enrich yourself in so many ways that are beyond count, right? So um, there's a downside to everything. Every choice you make in life, there's positives or a downside, and it's where you focus that where you put your attention and where you focus that expands.
That's the thing that you say, that you just said, where you focus. And unfortunately, we tend to focus on a bad side, you
Yeah,
know?
because we are in those moments we're living in ego, and when we're in pain, no matter what you do, when you're in pain, you're going to go to ego because ego is our default to keep us protected, keep us safe. So if you start recognizing that and going, okay, I'm allowed to feel this pain, I'm allowed to feel this right now, and that's okay, but I know it's a moment and I know that I will get past this. And then when you allow yourself to sit in it, it doesn't anchor you, it doesn't imprison you. It's almost like, okay, I sat in it for a few minutes. I feel okay now. I feel okay. And I'm going to let it go. I remember one time my husband and I, we had a really busy day planned ahead of us. And all of a sudden, I needed to cry. And I went into my reading room and where I do all my readings and everything back in the day. And I just sat in the chair and my husband came looking for me. He's like, "What's going on?" I said, I need 5 minutes. And I had tears streaming down my face. He's like, "What happened? Is everything okay?" I said, "No, I need 5 minutes." He's like, "Okay, no problem." So he left and I just cried and cried and cried until all of a sudden I was like, okay, I'm good. So instead of spending all day and all this energy trying to shove that sadness into my toes and swallow it down and be on edge and be frustrated with my husband, who I would have no clue what was going on, right? He would be like, "What is going on? I'm just trying to be nice." And she's so frustrated. But because I was trying to hold on to everything so tightly, I just was like, okay, can I give myself to feel the sadness? Can I give myself permission to be angry? And I did. And I had an amazing day after that.
Great.
So
You needed that cry.
where are you going to give you, and there's so many times when we feel so-called bad emotions or bad feelings that we shame ourselves. It's a nice day. Why am I feeling like this? I have so much to do. Why am I doing this to myself? Like, why do I feel this way? This is ridiculous. I have a good, like, why, instead of spending all of that energy into the why, feel what needs to be felt and then let it go and go enjoy the rest of your day. Even if it's all day long, you need to feel it, because tomorrow, yeah, you're going to be tired, but it's going to be a good tired, because if you think of it, like when you're like, let's say we have a Charlie horse in our leg, right? Oh my God, it freaking hurts. It really hurts. And it's like cramping like hell. But the minute it eases up, it's like, wow, it feels like I did like crazy amount of calf raises. And so we're exhausted because we've been holding on to that feeling and those emotions for so freaking long that now it's like, okay, I can finally relax. It's so important to do that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I was gonna ask you something, but if we went, oh, running out of time again.
Sorry, I know I'm a huge talker.
We still have about 9 minutes. We're good. We're good. We're good. But
Okay.
I gotta pay attention on the time now so we don't get cut off again. Is there
Yeah.
anything else that you want to share? You know?
I, I thought about that even at the beginning, and I want to remind women that you really always have a choice. You have a choice in how you live. You have a choice in how you act. You have a choice in how you react. You have a choice in what you believe. It takes discipline. Think about your brain like a 3-year-old who's never had rules. The minute you start putting rules, your brain starts trying to push against it. But the minute you start consciously deciding how you're going to think, how you're going to feel without judgment, that's where true freedom comes in. I thought it would be restrictive, but it's not. It's empowering. That is what I want to remind you. Tap into your inner voice, trust it, because nobody knows you and what you are capable more than yourself and more than your inner voice and intuition.
Oh yeah, I actually do a lot of like affirmations and stuff. I have a little book, and
Love it.
I won on a raffle, like a little notebook that's called Be Kind to Your Mind. So I decided to put all my like positive affirmations and stuff, you know. And there's this one that I keep it open all the time. That says, "Whoever is bringing out the best in you, stay connected to them." So I put
Love
that
it.
inside of heart.
It's so true.
Because it does, like right before I got into that depression things that I was telling you about. The day was beautiful. It was January, you know, I went to work. I had everything to be a great day. But I felt like crap the whole day. And I'm coming home and I was so tired. And that was the starting of everything because just like you said, I focused on why am I feeling this way instead of like, okay, I felt this way. Tomorrow's another day. So, but no, I kept like, why am I feeling this way? And
Yeah.
it snowball. Next thing I know, I'm not getting out of bed. And on my days off, just in bed all day, sleeping all day, getting out of bed just to go to work, you know, because the bills keep piling up still.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But you're so right. But sometimes it's hard for us to we know about these things, right? But we don't remember at that moment when you're feeling like crap, you're not remembering the reason. You're not
Yeah.
listening. You're listening to the ego, like you said.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it takes time. And honestly, like even through all of my teachings and all of my learnings, there are times where I'm like, I lose track of that too. But when you start, like, if you pay attention, your intuition will feel it and you will hear it kick in. And when you choose to listen to that, which is a challenge, I'm not gonna lie, but when you start listening to it more, that's when it's like self love, compassion, and it's like, okay. And sometimes those moments of depression is because you've been holding on to so much for so long. It's time to let go. And that's why your body why you get just totally beat, right?
I'm still I'm still confused about my whole depression because I ended last year so good, you know, like to me, I
Yeah.
was like, wow, the year was rough, but it was also a good year. I started my podcast, I started doing social media, putting myself out there, putting myself first, went to get a facial, went to get a massage, got my hair done, putting myself first, and then suddenly this depression came out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh God,
But it
no.
might not have anything to do with now. Sometimes it's feelings from years and years and years ago that you don't even remember, but that have been shoved into your toes and shoved into your feet for so long that now, because you're in a healthier, better place, more like feeling really good, now you have the strength to release what those emotions were from way back when. It might not have anything to do with now. That's why sometimes, yes, sometimes it is important to figure out why the feelings are there. But if you don't know right away, let it go. Be like, okay, I don't understand why I feel this way, but I'm going to feel it without judgment because maybe it was from years ago when I don't even remember at the moment.
Yeah, you said that because I have a life coach that I have sessions with her,
Love
and I
it.
talked to her through that, and she actually said almost exactly the same thing. Oh, it's because of this, and I'm like, no, but we're talking about this. You're working through, so all of this thing comes up, and I'm like, oh. Well, I don't want to talk about that anymore. I don't want to feel like this anymore. But it's like it's our self-defense mechanism, right? Like, okay, if that's what's making me feel this way, I don't want to do this anymore. But we
Yeah.
need to go through that and work all of that.
You can only ignore things for so long before
Yeah.
they will shove themselves to the surface. Absolutely.
I don't know if you have anything else to share. I cannot think of anything else to ask you. This was so
No.
great. I just want to say I am so honored that you agree to be on it here. And I would love for you to leave a message for the listeners and viewers. You know, if you want
Okay.
people find a
Absolutely.
way to get in touch with you, offer your services, you know.
Right.
And if we can help at least one person, we've done our job.
100%. Absolutely. I'm very open to anybody asking me any questions. I am an open book. My website is Sarah with an H, so sarahsmanning.com. You can email me at info@sarahsmanning.com, as well as I have an app called Intuify. If you're looking to tap into your intuition on a daily and consistent basis, it is Intuify. It's Intuify, and there is a free program and there's a paid program, and it's daily reminders for women to tap into their intuition on a consistent basis. So that is how you can find me. Just look for the pink hair. You'll always find me really
Love the
easily.
pink hair. And I'm gonna look that up your app. That sounds really good. I didn't know about that. It's awesome.
It slipped my mind until right now, and it's like, oh, I gotta get that in there.
That's good. I'm gonna ask you something. I usually
Yeah,
try to ask that everybody, but sometimes I forget because I get into the conversation, but I remember.
absolutely.
What does being independent mean to you?
Honestly, freedom. I think sometimes we forget how important independence really is. And it's like freedom, self-confidence, standing in my life without apology. I love my husband, but I love the fact that I don't need him anymore. Um, it's like, yeah, flying high. That to me is what independence is. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers. Thank
I
you so much for having me, Allie.
loved this.